Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks Hockey Podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hi, it's me, it's Chris. It's Anna next to me, virtually. Like, not next to me, right?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here for you if you need a, shoulder to cry on, etc. But not physically there with you.
No, I'm trying to think. The last time that we recorded, like, physically together,
Oh,
would
God.
it have been in the hot box?
Maybe. Or either that or one of our live shows, like when we recorded at...
Well, the last live show was
Jaegers?
when Matt was still around, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know if we've recorded outside the hotbox without Matt, or at least after Matt left.
No, I think we've been virtual since Matt left.
And we have, to be clear, we've seen each other in person since then.
Yes.
Several
Yes,
times.
yes. But, like, recorded.
Yeah, but socially rather than recording.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way, the world is now. We stay apart from each other so that the heart grows fonder. when
Yes,
we're together.
exactly.
Something like that, right?
I think that's how it goes.
How you been doing?
Yeah. Mainly good. Dealing
How
with...
you been doing? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's an interesting yes-no question I just asked there.
Dealing with the unrelenting rain. I just took a look at the weather app maybe half an hour ago. It's raining for the next...
7 years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I know it's Vancouver in the spring, like I should be used to this after a decade here, but...
No,
Isn't that crazy? Like, in the summer, I will have been here a decade.
Wow, man. Almost as long as me. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
I was going to say before you had shocked me with the fact that you've been here for 10 years, is that having been born and brought up here, I don't want to say that I have ever grown accustomed to the rain, but I don't think it impacts me because I've known nothing different.
Yeah, but I mean, I grew up in London, which isn't quite as bad as here, although it's relatively bad, but and I lived in Manchester for 3 years, which at times was the rainiest city in Europe. I don't know if it still is. But yeah, Vancouver is truly something else. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like the rain in Manchester can be worse. Like, it doesn't rain sideways here quite as much as it did in Manchester, but it rains more. More days in a row.
We generally save our sideways rain for the fall.
Yeah, and even then, it's honestly not as bad. The wind that comes off the Pennines is really bad. So I feel like it just rains more here and more often, but not quite as bad.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Speaking of rain, the Vancouver Canucks were trying to rain on our parade of prognostications.
Yes, they were. I mean, literally, look at
not bad because they're good, but then they were bad.
Yeah, the week that was, look at the teams and look at the Vancouver results. They make no sense.
Nope, not at all whatsoever. The Canucks came very close to showing how little you and I know about hockey.
How little anyone knows about hockey.
Or at least the Vancouver Canucks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no team that can Canuck like the Canucks. And boy, did the Vancouver Canucks look to Canuck by the end of the week. We're going to get into the fact that there was some winning. I had said there would be none. The Canucks said, screw you, Chris.
Yeah.
You gave some optimism away, and they rewarded you with that by giving you even more. And just when it's like, we're going to prove you wrong, they proved us wrong by proving us wrong.
Sure. I'm lost here now.
So am I.
Yeah.
The Vancouver Canucks probably equally the same. But yeah, wins and a loss. They got a point.
Yeah, I was like,
an overtime loss
a win,
loss, but...
2 losses.
Yeah, but let's be honest. They got a point out of St. Louis, and that was a win.
No, but that's a loss, because That's almost like losing in regulation because...
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
It's not how it works in the NHL. It doesn't, unless it says L, it's not a loss.
I mean, it
Unless
does.
you're a goalkeeper,
OTL.
then it is.
OTL.
Whatever. The point is, it's not just an L. It's an OTL.
Okay.
Anyhow, so we'll get to the fact that the Vancouver Canucks are still doing what they do. The week that will be, they're on the road until April, obviously. So we have 4 games coming up where they get to do stuff. That's cool. Vancouver Canuck player set an NHL record with games to spare. It's nice being a Canuck fan where a player on your team is setting the record, not a player who is playing your team sets a record.
True, and it's not a bad record.
No. That's actually very fair and salient of you to point out, because there are some bad records too. So yeah, Anna and I are going to get into all of that in Rewind. Seriously, did you give the Vancouver Canucks any chance playing against the Winnipeg Jets?
No. And I don't think that's an insult at all to say that, while really underestimating Vancouver. They got battered last time they were in Winnipeg, and I didn't think we were in for a repeat of that. I thought it would look better, at least on the score sheet, but...
Well, it did look better on the score sheet.
I wish it did. But, no, I didn't think they were going to beat Winnipeg. Of course I didn't. It's Winnipeg. They're, leading the Western Conference, by 10 points at the time of the game, I think.
Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks went into that game with a hope and a prayer. I mean, I think that would be a very fair statement. Brock Besser was in a slump. Petey, we could sort of presume to believe that Petey is back. Quinn was back, but we were worried about Quinn's back.
Yes. Sure. So is he, I'm sure.
Right? There was some concern.
And the whole team he's carrying on the back of his back. Yeah.
And, we had talked about how talk hockey isn't all that exciting or inspiring. And there was so many different reasons as to how you would look at that game and just wonder, could the Vancouver Canucks hold on? So you had pointed out that the Vancouver Canucks got smoked when they played Winnipeg last. It was 6-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah. If I were to tell you that the result of the game, without you knowing who won, was 6-2, you'd probably say, oh, wow, the Canucks got spanked again. But no, the Canucks were the ones who were doing the spanking. And guess who spanked the hardest? Brock Besser.
Yep, he really got out his paddle and gave it a good old spank. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so infuriating, and of course so Canucks, that I go to the game on Sunday that was, so underwhelming. Both from Utah and... I almost said Utica there. And Canucks. And yet, they couldn't turn off against the Winnipeg Jets. And slightly off the rails, but a friend of mine I saw was at the game, so I messaged and said, oh, what a game to go to, I was unfortunately at the game on Sunday. She said, yeah, it's a fun introduction to hockey. And I was like, that was your first game!
I hope you told her they're all like that. This is
yeah, this is Canucks hockey.
Always.
But I guess she also didn't have the context of Winnipeg being amazing this year, so...
Well, she probably, one, thinks the Vancouver Canucks are outstanding and going to win the Stanley Cup just by that game alone, and the Winnipeg Jets have just been the doldrums forever.
Yeah, I mean, Winnipeg, the place, yes, in the doldrums. Winnipeg Jets, not so much. But yeah, it was quite a game, right? Well,
you got Brock Besser, who is in a slump, no more. And Brock scores 2 goals and should have had 3, but, P.S. the shooter-suitor, the jerk that he is.
Yeah, selfish.
Tries to go and get himself close to having a hat trick.
He got himself... he's getting himself paid. Also, I love that Rick Tocchet said after the game that it was a cha-ching goal. It's just Rick Tocchet, whose side he won? Certainly not general manager's side.
Considering Rick's a free agent himself, to be honest.
That's true.
Yeah. So Brock got himself a pair of goals, one on the power play. Quinn Hughes got him a bunch of points. The reunited Höglander and Pedersen pairing with a little bit of Brock thrown in.
What a great threesome. You'd pay to watch that threesome, right?
I probably wouldn't.
I mean, you wouldn't have paid to watch that threesome on Tuesday?
No, I might just turn on the TV.
Okay.
Google it or something like that.
I would have paid to watch it.
I bet you would have. The three of them were looking like they had needed to be put together a long time before, and the magic ensued.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Hoglander Pedersen thing we've been saying forever, so... And we are by no means the only ones. And they have been together sporadically, but there's been no sustained time for them to generate chemistry. And after all the complaints of Pedersen not living up to his contract, don't get me wrong, I agree, but, like, it just seems like such an odd thing that you won't put him with the one person that he's kind of shown to play well with for a sustained period, being like, we've tried everything, or we've tried nothing, and we still can't figure it out, you know? Yeah. So, yeah. We'll get on to the bleak future ahead of us, but during the Winnipeg game, you're like, oh, this is what a first line looks like.
It's also exciting to watch a team that was throwing the puck around with pace, blind passes, odd man rushes that they were looking to capitalize on. Like, they looked dangerous each and every time that they were on the ice. I would argue the antithesis of talking hockey.
Yeah, good use of the word antithesis.
Thank you.
Yeah, and, like, I can't say that we've been, like, banging the drum for better necessarily with Pedersen. They've worked at times, but we kind of know that we've moved past the lotto line fun. But yeah, like, Brock's been struggling. He now is not. He sees the light. He is invigorated.
Whoa. That's only one game. Brock's only had one good game so far. Don't be saying that Brock is back quite yet. Okay, so the Vancouver Canucks, they get that outstanding win against the Winnipeg Jets, and they then find themselves heading out on the road forever. They go into St. Louis. St. Louis is a hot team. We talked about this last week. The St. Louis Blues had suddenly figured out how to start winning hockey. They are a team. I don't know where they are now. I should look at the standings. But at the time we recorded last week, they were the only wild card team that wasn't in a negative goals against position on either side of the league. And the Vancouver Canucks arguably needed to get themselves some points out of this game. So what did they do? They went and spotted the St. Louis Blues a lead.
Yeah. I mean, I watch 2/3 of this game on my phone.
That is 2/3 more than I got to see it.
And then I didn't watch the third period, which apparently was where it actually livened up. Yeah. You can say that they can be unlucky in points for this game, but realistically, you can't start playing end of the second or beginning of the third. Sorry, I just hit my mic.
That's okay. Our listeners will hate you for it.
Yeah, that's...
Because you hit your mic while you were talking, which just makes it impossible.
Yeah. I mean, that's just an issue.
Why we are the 136 Canucks podcast on your 136 podcast dial.
Oh, there's many reasons for that. But yeah, like, Brock Besser scored again. He's back 100%.
He does. He scores in the second period after the Vancouver Canucks went and gave the St. Louis Blues a 12-3 shot advantage in the first period alone, and somehow got out of that 0-0. And then in the second period, when they start to figure out that they need to play some hockey, they give up a goal pretty late in the period to the boldest of Ducks, Zach Bolduc.
Oh, yikes.
I know. I'm horrible. What can I say? But the third period is where it got wacky. Kiefer Sherwood hits King, scores himself a goal, ties it up. Then Brock Besser from Niels Hoglander and Elias Pettersson to take a 2-1 lead. By golly, the Vancouver Canucks found their moxie that they had against the Winnipeg Jets.
There's that first line again. But yeah, it just did feel a little too late, I guess.
Well, no. It was 2-1. It was fine. It wasn't too late. It was
Well,
too late once they got to the 9-minute mark where
yeah.
they let 2 in.
Yeah. And Tyler Tucker, once again, does not sound like a real name. And yeah, Blues offer sheet signing Dylan Holloway gets on the score sheet, but of course, clutch Brock Besser.
At 19:56 of the
4
third
seconds
period,
left.
no goalie in the net.
I mean, literally, this is like playoff Brock Besser come back to play.
Kid's hot. Found the groove.
Very exciting, but unfortunately, Canucks OT is gonna Canuck.
Oh, they looked real good in OT. First and foremost, the pairings that Tocchet decided to send out in overtime? Question mark.
Yeah.
Jake DeBrusk? Question mark in OT.
Yeah. And we like Jake DeBrusk. Like him on the power play. Like him as a net front guy. There's lots of things to like about Jake DeBrusk, but as an OT guy, I don't know.
Yeah, well, regardless, the St. Louis Blues score a goal and ultimately win it in OT. A wild sort of final 23 minutes of the game.
Yeah, of course. They wait till I have to stop watching and go to netball until they start playing.
Canucks head out of town with only a point when they probably did need 2.
And can we now talk about what we were talking about in the intro a little bit? Like, that's huge, right? Like, the Blues are the team. If you are playing Calgary, if you're playing the Blues, if you are playing Utah, although I think Utah is clubbing. That is to say, it was huge. That's another 4-point game there.
Yeah, just to sort of clarify with where the standings are right now, the game is huge in regards to the fact that the Vancouver Canucks lost a point that they needed against a team that was ahead of them. Blues would still be ahead of them now if it had gone swung the other way. But the fact remains, the St. Louis Blues.
But with the Blues schedule that they had this weekend, which, I mean, spoiler alert, they went 2-0 this weekend because they had easy games. They had the Predators today.
Currently sitting on a 6-game win streak as of recording.
Also,
them hot St. Louis Blues.
Can we just, and also they had Chicago yesterday, so obviously.
Chicago won big time today against the
Oh, yeah?
Flyers. Yeah,
I missed that.
7-3 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, against the Flyers, 7-4. There you go. 2 things. I actually don't remember what the first thing is. Never mind. The second thing.
One thing.
Oh, no, I do remember them. The first thing is...
Back to 2 things.
Who knows? They're still playing Chicago and Nashville, so who knows what effect losing against the Canucks would have. Quite possibly, very likely nothing. And they would still win those 2 games, but... yeah. And then the second thing is... are you guys sorry? Because you guys should be sorry. And when I say guys, you should be sorry. All Canadians. Because the Four Nations win has come at a cost.
Sorry.
Yeah. We wanted Jordan Binnington to be Jordan Binnington. And now he's Four Nations
Jordan Binnington.
Winning.
Jordan Winnington.
Yes. And we don't love that. So.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Vancouver, though, found themselves in need of a motivational performance, one for the ages. Had to get themselves 2 points to get back on, winning ways. And I had said how, one, I hated the fact that Vancouver was traveling all the way to the east, too. That was an early game. That was just a guaranteed loss. I was like, That was the one I was most confident about, was the Vancouver Canucks game against the Rangers. That was the one they were going to lose. Like the others, I said, no. But this one, no, they're not going to beat the Rangers. It's just not going to happen. When the Vancouver Canucks came out in the first period, having had intravenous caffeine and whatever the winning color of Gatorade was behind the bench, and who knows how many other crazy superstitious things were done or provided or performed. In that first period alone, I was like, holy smokes, this is the Vancouver Canucks team we've all been waiting for. I would argue we saw a better performance in that first period from Vancouver against what friend of the show, Patrick Johnson, says was not a very good New York Rangers team.
Another friend of the show, I'm pretty sure Satya Shah called them, quote-unquote, arse.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a technical term. But the Vancouver Canucks outshot the New York Rangers 11-1 in the first period. And came away with a 1-goal lead. Now, the 1-goal lead was flattering for the Rangers.
Of course.
The Vancouver Canucks had a multitude of grade A opportunities. At one point, they had, was it the first period or second period? I can't remember because it's such a blur. They had a 5-on-2.
I think that was the second period, yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy. Like, how do you not score from that?
No, but like, I mean, the fact that it's a blur, is it the first or is it the second, is because the number of like grade A opportunities,
100%.
odd man rushes. Sherstorkin, whatever his name is, Sherstorkin.
He was Sherstorkin all the time.
Pretty much. Oh gosh, it was just unbelievable. It got to the point that the NHL referees had to apply game management principles to ensure that it was even. And Jake DeBrusk got a penalty for existing.
Yeah, which is harsh. Just because he's from Edmonton, we don't need to punish him.
The little-known rule, first man in against a 4-man scrum.
Yeah. I mean, considering the fact that third man in doesn't get punished, like it should.
But first man in with a 4-man scrum does.
Like, what annoys me, yes, the refs, of course, the refs. And also getting a penalty for being punched in the face. But more than anything, I'm just so bored of the trend in hockey recently. And I say recently, I mean like years of hockey. Of just like legitimate hit, let's start a fight. Or just like being near the goalie.
Scrum.
And it's like, I hate it. Like, it's just so pathetic in my mind. And I'm all for if a guy sprays your goalie, where it's very clearly, obviously, intentional, or a guy gets in your goalie's face, or whatever. I'm fine with a team standing up against that, but I'm just bored of legitimate hockey getting punished with just old school machismo BS.
Yeah, well, it's not going away.
It's not, and it sucks.
Yeah. Now,
it's just boring.
Rewinding a little bit here.
That's all.
I agree. Rewinding a little bit here, that penalty isn't changing the outcome of the game whatsoever. But the Vancouver Canucks, having failed to capitalize on all of these opportunities that they were presented, allowed the Rangers to stay in a game that they had no business staying in. Like, they had like one shot through the first, and I think they were sitting on just an additional shot in the second until midway through the period.
Yeah, I mean, but also it's like, yeah, they were still sitting pathetically on 5 shots at the end of the second, but Canucks added 2. And I also agree that, like, maybe shot counters aren't always representative. Canucks maybe had some chances that didn't get counted on the score sheet, but yeah.
Well, the sort of point I was driving towards, though, is when you leave a team in a game without, taking your foot.
Yes.
And stepping on them hard. The Rangers get a goal. I mean, it was a great deflection. I can't fault Lankinen for not making
what are you going to do?
But suddenly it's 1-1 So when the third period rolls around and the New York Rangers, having not played good hockey, are of the opinion that we're still in this game, boys.
And, like, why wouldn't you be? That's the infuriating thing, right? It's like the deflection was just unlucky. That moment was an unlucky moment, but if you have taken your chances, you're already 2-3 ahead. So if you get unlucky with one goal, you're still okay.
Yeah. Well, early in the third, Brodzinski scores, puts the Rangers up by 1. You're like, oh my God, are the Canucks going to Canuck this? Well, midway through the period, Drew O'Connor showed that the Vancouver Canucks, no, they had no business Canucking this game. Problem is Lankinen didn't have a hot one. K'Andre Miller scores only, a minute after Drew? Oh, they're going to Canuck this. But rest assured, Brock Besser, he's back. Brock scores. Man, the Vancouver Canucks, they're somehow going to win this game, aren't they? No. Johnny Brodzinski scores again only 30 seconds after Brock ties it up because Lankinen was having a Dan Cloutier moment in the third period.
Yeah.
And the Vancouver Canucks threw everything they could. They crashed the net. They were just going like full-on 5-alarm fire and could not get that puck past Shesterkin, because I can't say his name if my life depended on it. Shesterkin, whatever. The point is, the goalie in New York Rangers, blue and red. And guess who scores the empty net goal in the third period? By golly, Jonathan Miller.
My roommate asked me if I was more upset that he scored that goal than the Canucks losing, and I said maybe.
Well, okay, someone replied to me on Threads and said the worst part about that game is JT Miller scored a goal, and I'm like, no, the worst part is that they lost.
The worst part is definitely the way they played and couldn't take their chances, but what made me feel worse? Yeah,
I mean, the Miller goal don't help.
And Miller being all, like, above it all and holier than thou, and, like, I actually don't have a problem with Vancouver. Oh. And once again, the media are making stuff up, and actually, I am a really good guy.
Yeah.
That makes it worse. Shut up.
The thing about that shot. So first of all, I got to give credit to JT Miller for having the accuracy to get that puck in the net.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the easiest.
Just above the goal line in the corner, like he turned around and fired. Yes, good for you, boy. Thing is about that is I don't think he would have been coached to take that shot in a 1-goal game when it's very clear that the Vancouver Canucks are trying to capitalize on every possible opportunity they can get in front of the net. Because if he ices that puck, the Canucks are getting another face-off. The better play would have been to fire it off the boards and burn more clock off. But hey.
But that's
all moot. Miller scored.
And actually, we should go back because the worst part of this all was not them Canucks losing, was not Canucks not being able to take their chances, was not JT scoring against them.
No, it's the fact that the top line
is
lost
no more.
2 players.
Yes, it is Canucks forward Niels Höglander and forward Elias Pettersson will not return to today's game. And it's the fact that Tonka says they're doubtful for Monday's game, which will be today as you're listening to this.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened to Petey though.
It was off a face-off.
Off a face-off, and sort of he shook his arm or it was something. But like, it didn't seem like. No, it didn't to me. Anything.
But I also, what was infuriating to me, and I feel like I kind of spewed that out there without because he went off injured rather. He didn't get injured because he was targeted by the New York Rangers, but he was targeted by the New York Rangers, and the referees continuously allowed the New York Rangers to get away with that. So I will say it's BS. Huh?
What happened to Höglander?
Good question. I don't know. He just got raptured. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, oh, he's not going to return. Wait, what? When did it happen?
And I'm sure, the internet detectives have worked it out, but I actually don't know.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. So, yikes, maybe he just wants to be the same as his bestie.
Yeah. But, doubtful for the game on Monday. That's the concern. When they take on the Hughes brothers. Or the Hughes brother. Are they both healthy? I can't remember.
Good question. Not sure if Jack is back.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyhow, they're in Jersey to take on the Devils on Monday on Amazon Prime, for those of you who are curious.
That's a
as to
good
where you
reminder,
want to watch
actually.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
A positive did come out of that New York Rangers game, though. Within the first couple of minutes of the game,
Is it that we got to see Carson Soucy's face?
that was maybe the second most positive
Okay.
thing in the game. Okay, it was the fact that Kiefer Sherwood needed only one hit to take the NHL hits record and call it his own. And in the most glorious fashion, he rubbed a player out.
He did what, sorry?
I know. It's a term they use in hockey, not the term
Is it
you're thinking
indeed?
of. He gently nudged him against the boards.
Yeah, I remember seeing the replay because it kind of, like, they were saying it's coming and then they say, oh, he made the hit. And then I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
here it is. And it's like
I
he
missed that.
just sort of, gently pushed him into the
I was
sideboards.
like, okay. They don't draw pictures on the score sheet, I guess.
No. He rubbed him out. And it's not my fault.
Okay.
It's a term that's used in hockey.
Actually, another positive thing besides the hits record, which, impressive, like, it's crazy the lead he has on every other player, and, like, he's contributing on the score sheet, he is putting his, body on the line physically. I do enjoy Kiefer Sherwood as a signing, 100%. He is Asian representation, we love that, and I think it just goes to show you should definitely sign players just because they annoy you.
Mm-hmm. Who else annoys the Vancouver Canucks? I've been taking notes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is Jason Winnington your goaltender of the future? Because I know he annoys the heck out of you.
And
Nonstop.
I mean, he 100% does, and now we're changing his name to Jason.
Oh, geez. Sorry, Jordan?
I'm okay getting his name wrong.
I called him Winnington. What does it matter I call his first name?
Yeah. But sorry, the other positive thing was point number 400 for Quinn Hughes. Who I think he might be quite good, actually, at this game of hockey.
Have you heard he's good?
Yeah.
Someone had actually commented about how their favorite player was Pavel Bure, and now with Quinn Hughes, they're like, no, I think Quinn Hughes is my favorite player, and I was sort of thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, I think Pavel Bure was like the most exciting player that I could ever think of for the Vancouver Canucks. Not just my favorite. There were others, but like by far the
Most exciting,
generational
sure, most
talent,
skillful.
most exciting,
Yeah.
skillful. Quinn Hughes makes Pavel Bure look like a player.
Right.
Like what Quinn does on the ice is, I would argue, equally as exciting, but not what a defenseman is meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Like who was it that he ultimately ethered into the afterlife?
Oh,
in the
Matt
first goal?
Rampy?
Yeah, like
I don't know if it's as difficult as, Quinn
No,
Hughes
but,
having
like,
to do it, but yeah.
all Quinn does is he just casually stops and goes another direction, and Rempe is just gone.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist. He's erased
And
from the timeline.
for comparison, Alex Edler, the best defenseman the Canucks have ever had, I think clearly, by a long shot, before Quinn Hughes arrived. Big part of why they got to the Cup final. Like, huge defenseman. Quinn is going to overtake him in points by with about 500 games fewer.
Yeah. And again, this is the Quinn Hughes Appreciation Podcast. The game against the Rangers, I had alluded to the fact that Quinn's back and we were worried about his back. He had the team on his back
Yes.
with 9 shots, something like 28 minutes of ice time or something along those lines. He was doing everything that he could possibly do to get that Canucks team that goal they needed to at least get it to overtime.
And we should say, yes, I 100% agree that that's what he was doing. I will say he's not necessarily had his best week.
Oh no.
Like,
I mean, was it Rangers or Winnipeg where he essentially was on the ice for 3 defensive shifts because they couldn't get the puck far enough up the ice for him to...
Yeah, and I don't think
get
he was
off,
great
but-
against St. Louis, and
I
obviously
didn't see that game.
against the Rangers, unfortunately, one of the goals went off his stick. I don't necessarily blame him for that, but yeah, overall, not his best week, but he's injured. Like, he's half a person, and he's still one of the best players on the ice.
Yeah, well, by far the best Canuck. So, got the Devils on Monday, you got the Islanders on Wednesday, you got the Blue Jackets on Friday, and the Jets on Sunday. Anna, 4 games on the road. What say you?
I mean, obviously, Niels Höglander and Elias Pettersson returning would be big question marks over both of those games. Sorry, like all of those games, both of those players. I do think the Blue Jackets are legit, but maybe not as good as they have been. New Jersey is still good. New York Islanders are mid. I say they beat the Islanders.
Okay.
I've already forgotten who the team in the middle. So it goes Devils, Islanders.
Devils, Islanders, Blue Jackets,
Blue Jackets, Jets. I mean, realistically, they have to at least win 2 to be competitive. So I'm going to say they'll win 2.
Okay, but which
Islanders and Blue Jackets. There you go.
Okay, well, I have them winning 2 games. I have them winning the Hughes Derby in Jersey, and I have them beating the Blue Jackets on the Friday. I have them losing to the Isles and Jets.
Okay. And we're
So
both saying no overtimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 points.
Okay. 4 points. But, like, literally, they absolutely have to. They're, like, 5 points back right now. It's not been a good weekend for the Vancouver Canucks playoff race, so...
No, it has not. And, you know, if you're keeping track at home, like, how many games do they have left in the remainder of the season? Not a lot. So the Vancouver Canucks are at that point where we're not doing the math, but we're pretty darn close. We're also taking a break. You're listening to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna and Chris.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
As we ended Rewind, yes, the playoffs are fast approaching, and the Vancouver Canucks don't have a whole lot of hockey left. If we were to add the number of games up, there are 12. And the Vancouver Canucks being, a handful of points back of the final wildcard spot in the West does mean they got to win a lot more of those games than they're about to lose. Like 500 hockey ain't going to be enough. I do not see a world where for the Vancouver Canucks to go 500, that St. Louis stumbles significantly and one of either the Wild or Flames do so as well. Right now, the Wild and Flames are sitting on 3-game winning streaks. The Blues are on a 6-game winning streak. And the Vancouver Canucks going 500 also require the Utah Hockey Club to maybe not stay on their somewhat winning ways.
Okay,
so,
but in my opinion, Calgary Flames are not it. Like, Canucks might not be it either.
You've eliminated Calgary?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's the thing is, I don't feel like Calgary is going to completely crash and burn.
No, but I do think Canucks will have a better record than Calgary to the end of the season. I think it's, if I had to, put money on it, and you and I both know, and our listeners probably know that that's not something I will ever do, but I think the most likely scenario is it stays like it is, Minnesota and the Blues get through, which I haven't really said before. I think I've basically been of the opinion that Canucks will squeak in and do not much. But I think Canucks are pretty close to being a candidate as well.
Well, so by that logic, the Canucks are out. Like, Edmonton's in some rough times right now due to injuries, but the Oilers would have to crash real hard for them to fall into the bottom of the wild card picture as to where they exist. Like, right now, the Oilers have 87 points. They're riding high.
They'll be fine.
Pacific, right? Like,
and I just think it's most likely to stay like it is, but it's possible that Canucks take the blue spot.
Well, but the Blues, like, in the last 10, the Blues are 8-1-1.
No,
They've won 6 in a row. Like, this is a team that has figured out when to turn it on, and it is on.
And it turns out it's not in the back end of the third period when you have already, like, spotted another team, like, a 2-goal lead, you know? Weird.
The playoff picture as it exists right now is the Vancouver Canucks wanting a team in front of them to fall completely apart. You've said it's not going to be possible. Or alternatively, for them to suddenly win and run the table. Like, it's so interesting because when the Vancouver Canucks beat the Winnipeg Jets, the Canucks subreddit, someone had posted, can we go back to talking about the boom number as opposed to the doom number? And the bulk of the responses were like, yeah, you know, I think they figured things out. This team is looking inspired. They're going to make a run. I think they're going to squeak in. That game had put so much hope into the fan base. The loss against the Blues, it hurt, but it's like, okay, we're not gonna win them all, but we got our point. Let's just get points. The loss against the Rangers was like a gut punch and a kick in the you-know-whats on the way down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I felt pretty despondent after the Blues loss because of its big 4-point nature, in just the same way that the Calgary win was huge. But yes, the loss against the Rangers was pretty big blow as well. Yeah.
But the thing is like that loss against the Rangers, I get what you're saying. Okay, well, the Blues got 2 points when they should have had 0 and the Canucks should have had 2. But it's the loss of the 2 points against the Rangers that I think puts the Canucks behind that proverbial 8-ball. Like, if they're sitting at 78 points right now, they're only, you know, a game and a half behind the Blues, and the Canucks have a 2-game sort of advantage on the Blues. Like, they can make that up. But as it stands right now, if the Blues and the Canucks have equal records, and that's a stretch, right? The way the Vancouver Canucks and the Blues have been playing, to each their own. But if they have even records, those 2 games that the Vancouver Canucks have could pay off if the win against the Rangers was real. I get what you're saying, but the Rangers game was the gut punch.
Mm-hmm. But like, either way, we are where we are.
If they beat the Blues and lost to the Rangers, I feel we might be like, okay, we're not going to win them all. It's the combination of the two. Yeah. We're back to the doom number.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like we are, and that's kind of where you might end up if you play with fire, as Canucks have. Sorry, this is not a bad pun about tussling with the Calgary Flames, but, like, they're a bubble team who have been dealt some bad luck. Mm-hmm. See, Thatcher Demko injuries, injuries to different forwards at different times, Quinn Hughes injury, and the JT PD drama, although it's not so much bad luck as a sort of combination of factors that have built up over time that they have not dealt with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, you can find yourself on the outside looking in, and then, sorry, Francesco, no playoff revenue, and you've got a crappy draft pick anyway. Like, yeah. And maybe not the best cap space to play with, although it's decent, but, like, you know, they're built like a bubble team, and what do you know? they might finish up like a bubble team that just gets popped.
It's sad to think that it's possible for the Vancouver Canucks to potentially miss the playoffs, lose Brock Besser, lose P.S. Suter, and have themselves an off-season where if they were to go and make a splash, they'll have to probably overpay to do it.
And
not become exponentially better.
Yeah, and let's not forget that we're also dealing with the fact that we didn't sign Brock Besser and we didn't trade him. And we're at the point now where we're almost depending on him to be super Brock Besser, clutch Brock Besser, especially if his line mates are out.
Yeah. If he becomes, let's say he is super Brock Besser. Let's say he's figured out his game. It's come back to him. Yeah. The two that he got paired with where he suddenly got hot, he maintains the heat. The Vancouver Canucks will not be able to re-sign him. He will be too darn expensive. He's already expensive. If he plays well, he is going to become even more expensive.
So you just have to hope that you win the cup with him.
Right. Like it's
like it's just a mad way to deal with him, right? Like it's a mad strategy.
Yeah.
I've literally clipped this up, not because I want to have to play this back, but like me talking about that the two options with Brock Besser is sign him for more than you wanted to sign him at, or trade him for less you wanted to trade him at, and they chose neither. Like, I don't want to be right about that, like, but they had so long to decide, and they chose nothing.
Yeah. So Brock Besser, 23 goals. Jake DeBrusk, 23 goals. P.S. Suter, 20 goals. So you would be, with out of your top 3 goal scorers on the team right now, potentially gone in the offseason. If this team sort of exists in the current state as it is, doesn't go that far. P.S. Suter's having a contract season. He's playing himself out of Vancouver. Brock Besser's having arguably a resurgence in a contract year. Yeah. Likely has priced himself out of Vancouver. Hey, Jake DeBrusk is going to kick around. That's cool. But you're then looking at Connor Garland as your, number 2 goal scorer. Elias Pettersson's going to turn it around. Like,
and we think that he will, but is that enough? Like, it's just not. Nothing. I mean, Philip Heedle's out with concussion, and really hope that's not a issue going forward. But he has these issues. These are things that have happened, and I do think our middle 6 maybe looks a lot stronger than it has done in quite a while. But that's not how you win cups with a middle 6. And then Pettersson is especially with the goaltending situation like it is. Mm-hmm. Lankinen has outperformed massively, but we don't know where Demko is. Skating.
He's in Vancouver.
Yes, he is in Vancouver. I actually do know that. He is in Vancouver and he is skating.
Off the rails here last night at the Whitecaps match. I can't remember who the player was who got subbed on for the Whitecaps. Savvy.
Sure.
The woman who's sitting behind me asks, I would maybe presume her husband or a friend, like, "Oh, where'd he come from?" And the guy responds, "The sideline." And I hear this and I start laughing.
The dad joke.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, totally. Dad joke. And the woman sees me and she's like, "Look, you've even got him laughing." I'm like, he's not wrong.
Also, you heard that, but you don't hear me when I'm yelling at a guy in the row behind us.
Yeah, but when you're yelling at the guy behind us, I'm not laughing at it.
Yeah. I mean, good, but you also didn't hear me.
Well, I'm
selectively deaf.
Totally. No, it had more to do with last night's match. Having watched the Vancouver Canucks lose to the Rangers in the fashion they did, the Whitecaps said, "Hold my beer."
Okay.
And lost to the Chicago Fire the way they did. So
I was going to say, so the Whitecaps' dream is over?
It is. The drive for 5 is done. They're now 4 wins, 1 loss on the season. And again, we're off the rails here, but I'll talk more about it in the From 231 newsletter that's going to go out on Tuesday. Sign up at from231.ca for that weekly Whitecaps newsletter. International play gutted the Vancouver
because
Whitecaps
MLS is just on a weird
Yeah, they do what they do, which is completely
Also, I
askew
mean,
to the world.
like, you're preaching to the choir here. International play should be banned. That's how Bukayo Saka got injured. That's how Odegaard got injured, so let's ban internationals.
Yeah, but back to the Vancouver Canucks. You know, you had alluded to the fact that Brock Besser is going to have to become Super Brock Besser for the Vancouver Canucks to hold strong. I mean, I don't like. I'm
hold
not,
strong?
I'm not,
like, you mean, like, boost their way to places up the standings?
I don't know. Like, this is the thing is I'm really trying not to be pessimistic. I know that's sometimes our MO. I am a jaded Canucks fan. I have cheered this team on for far too long to ever believe in good things. Losing Höglander, losing Pettersson, Demko, as you mentioned, is out. Hughes is not healthy.
Not healthy, but doing okay.
It's just...
How long can that last? Yeah.
But
especially
how long can it last? Like, how can it not only last, but then get to the point that the team can run the table?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to see a path forward outside of blind optimism, and trust that they'll do it. Like, I mean, Tocchet is coaching like a guy who's not coming back.
Yeah.
And that's not to say he's not, but...
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's kind of like you look at if we are to miss the playoffs, who's to blame? And I think there's lots of blame to go around because I do think, like, from the point of view of the management,
I blame Finn, to be honest.
Okay, just don't blame Finn. He is innocent.
Mm-hmm. You think so, but Finn knows what he's done.
We can blame Crazy P. I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Other than Crazy P himself.
But yeah, from the management perspective, I think they brought in a lot of good guys. Drew O'Connor, Marcus Pedersen, got them signed. Philip Hedl remains to be seen whether he can battle through his concussion, and the history there, but overall has played really well. But like the Brock Besser of it all, the drawing out of the Pedersen Miller of it all, plus decisions maybe made a few years ago. I'm not saying if Bo Horvat was still here, there would be no drama in the dressing room. But he certainly kept the peace pretty well, and they decided that re-signing Miller was the priority. And it came to a head. To an untenable head. But then, yeah, Rick Tocchet has made some bad choices as well. Like the fact that we're like only now looking at Pedersen Höglander line for a sustained period, and now they're injured. Yeah, Kevin Lankinen,
and it felt so good.
Yeah, Kevin Lankinen has played really well, but he's also maybe showing some fatigue.
Don't you remember the days when Lankinen coming into Vancouver was to alleviate Thatcher Demko?
I know, so he doesn't get run into the ground.
Instead, we're going to run Kevin into the ground.
Yeah, because the alternative is shown to be not really viable for more than a game or so. So, yeah.
What a
tough
time to be a Canucks fan.
Yeah.
Oh, well. We'll be back next week to either, talk about all of the wonderful things that they did to spite us, or all the wonderful things
would love
they
to be
failed
spited.
to do. Yeah, we do. I mean, we say that each and every week. Prove us wrong.
Please.
Score all the goals, win all the games, shut them all out. Oh, the joy it would be if they could prove us wrong week after week. Anna, we're here at the end of the show, and one of the things that we like to mention is that for anyone who's reached this point is that they can continue to listen to us talk with C4 Off the Rails, but the only way to go and do that is to go to buymeacoffee.com/C4podcast, buymeacoffee.com, which is alternatively known as
Buy Me a Pint.
And if you were to subscribe to us on a monthly or annual basis, you get access to C4 Off the Rails, where Anna and I talk about all sorts of weird topics. If you went into Off Topic in C4 Discord, you'll notice that friend of the show and, buy us a pint supporter, Sean, was talking about all of your and Sean's misplaced trust in breakfast items.
My very correct takes on breakfast items. That's what he said.
But again, buymeacoffee.com/C4 podcast is where you can do that. It's like $5 a month, $50 for the year. That's in Canadian. And if you'd rather just throw us some money to buy pints, you can do that too. That's on a one-off basis. You can also join C4 Discord, discord.io/C4 podcast. That's the way about it. And the website, c4podcast.com, which works now. But if it doesn't, it's www.c4podcast.com. I don't know what was wrong with it.
That's weird.
Yeah. Anywho, what final words of wisdom do you have for our listeners this week, Anna?
So I forgot to mention, and I will tweet this out and put this on Discord, but I will be on the radio this week, talking all things Canucks, very early on a Wednesday morning, 6:40 a.m. on CBC.
I will not be up for that, but
you will listen
wish you all the best.
After the fact, I hope.
Yeah, if there's a link and it's provided to me, totally.
Wow. Yeah.
Is it Stephen Quinn you're talking
Stephen
to?
Quinn on the early edition. So I will be on.
My CBC Radio 1.
With, yes, another Canucks fan. Sort of giving my perspective on the team and where they're at this point in the season. And, I'll be my classic negative self, of course.
Yeah, totally, as you are. Make sure you plug the podcast, number 136, 137.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, anyone... I don't know if you can listen to it outside Canada, can you?
I don't know.
There might be a way to...
CBC Radio 1 is geolocked.
It may be geolocked. If it's not, please listen outside of Canada.
I should clarify, it's Radio 1 Vancouver.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, it's not just like...
Radio 1 elsewhere, not going to work. Radio 1 Vancouver.
And, but yeah, just Google that, CBC. Radio 1 Vancouver. And maybe there's ways to finagle it, even if it is geolocked.
Cool. My final words of wisdom is that if you happen to be a resident or eligible voter in the country of Canada, we have a federal election that has just been called. We are going to the polls on April 28th. I strongly encourage every single person who is eligible to vote to do so. If you're uncertain if you're eligible to vote, you just need to go to the Elections Canada website. It will walk you through the steps to confirm whether or not you're eligible, and if you are eligible, whether or not you were registered. You want to register to vote. And in Canada, if you don't register to vote beforehand, you can still vote. You simply need to attest your eligibility at a polling station.
Yes. Very important.
I'm not telling you who to vote for, as much as I would love to tell you who you should vote for. But what I would ask that everyone do is vote. That is the most important thing. Not voting in this election is potentially going to disrupt us.
Yeah, it's catastrophic. And
beyond any known means.
Hopefully, if you listen to this podcast, it's probably pretty clear who we don't want you to vote for. But that is to say, I won't be eligible in time. I was kind of planning for the October election, but obviously for various factors, it is not going to be October, it's going to be April. So, yeah, I won't get my vote together in time. But if you can vote, make it count. Really do. It's so important. Democracy works by participation. So
yeah. Step 1, register to vote. Step 2, find out who's running in your riding and vote for the candidate that you feel best represents you and our nation's needs.
Yeah.
Understand though that in the government system that we have, the Prime Minister does carry significant sway. You are not voting a prime minister into the office. You're voting for your member of parliament, and the group that has the most members of parliament are going to be asked by the Governor General to form government, at least the first time around. And as you've seen here in the province of BC, if it doesn't work the first time, sometimes another group is given an opportunity to lead.
Also, if you are based in Vancouver, you may be eligible to vote in the by-election. So check into that. That is also very important because it decides how our city is run. If you're happy with how our city is run recently, if that is somehow your opinion, you can shore up that power, or you can vote to disrupt that power. So I think that's really important too.
Just vote. So on behalf of Anna, A463, myself, Chris at Lightforce, and the podcast, which is c4podcast.com on Blue Sky,